Yes, hi guys, so welcome to today's tutorial, whereby in this tutorial we are going to create this awesome website which will be used for listing movies. So as you can see on the top bar, we have the total number of movies available in our database. We also have the capabilities to add new movies. So you can see we can add a movie, give it its ID, because all movies have their own unique ID. So this is not the ID on the database, this is the ID of the movie. Also, we provide the image, URL, the title. Then we have the listings of the movie. We can edit an existing movie, and we can delete an existing movie. So you can see, like, this one is showing, are you sure you want to delete The Lost Girl is here. Then you have these, it will be gone forever. So we'll create, the UI is created because our main focus here is how to use Prisma as an ORM to query our database. So we're going to be, this is Next.js plus Chakra UI. So Chakra UI is a component library used for styling applications. So used for styling React applications. So you can see, you can go ahead and check it out, but simply we're using it for the UI, for the models, for the dark mode and the light mode. Yes, so basically this is the Next.js tutorial, Prisma for the ORM. The database we are going to use MySQL database, and then finally the Chakra UI. So to get started, there is this repository which holds the code for the whole project. So we have the two branches here. So we have the initial branch and the master branch. So the initial branch contains the initial files, which includes the UI and the dummy data for the project. So you can clone these. You can see I have a readme here to help you to go through, but basically we are going to start off from an existing website, an existing styled website with Chakra UI. So we're not going to start creating the buttons, the models. Our main focus here is how we can get the data into the database, how to do seeding, how to seed in Prisma, and then how to query the database. So basically the CRUD operations of the database. So let's get started. So to get started, this is the final code for the project, but we are going to start from the initial branch. So you can follow these to start. You can just copy these. Also, don't forget the link to the repository will be linked to the description of the video, so that you can go ahead and fork the repository and then maybe start creating these components on your, start creating the functionalities on your own. Then, or else you can start together so you can code along, because I think that's the best way to learn something new. So I'll go ahead and I've just gone ahead and copied that URL. Then we'll start off from a new project. So we can stop these. Then you can see debug, then git clone. Oh, I already have it. I hope the terminal is easier to see. Then I can clone the project. So let me clone the project. The project is cloned. So this is the project that I've just cloned. So I can cd into that. So I can cd into that and then open it in a new VS Code. So I hope you are following along, because that's the only easiest way to learn. So just clone the project. So we have that .env.example. So I have my own .env. So you have a actually you're not going to use MySQL, you're going to use Postgres. It's similar, the use case is similar, but yeah, we're not going to use MySQL, we're just going to use Postgres SQL for this project. So the first thing we have to do is to create a database for our project. So I'll go ahead and open my command. Then I want to create a new project, a new database for our project. I hope this one is clear for everyone. So if you have not installed Postgres, you can go ahead to the documentation of Postgres and see how you can install Postgres on your local machine. So you can do -user. So then I can give it the password, then I'm in, then I'll create a new database. So create database, and then I'll call it new tutorial. You can call it anything you want, but this simply will be our database. Then copy it, then our database is created, and then that's it for our DB. We might get back to the DB to check our stuff, but I think in our case that's all we need. So already everything is initialized on our project, so you can see we have everything initialized. Prisma is initialized, but also we have a readme. So we have a readme here which has all the steps that we need to follow. So we need to clone the project, and also point to note I'm using pnpm to manage my dependencies. So you can go ahead and use pnpm if you want to. If you don't want to, so pnpm won't be a blocker for you to use. You can still use yarn, or basically you can just use npm. So if you're using another command tool, you can remove the .log pnpm log, and then maybe delete the node modules, and you'll be good to go. So next step is to install the dependencies. So just use pnpm and install the dependencies. So you can see how fast pnpm is. And then next, the database I used. So you can see here we have the database connection string. This one is for the user and the password. Then where is it connecting to? So the local host, because it is on our machine, the port. And then we can paste our new database here. So we just created the new database. So make sure you copy the database name there. And then you have our own schema. So the schema will be as simple as it is. So the first thing we have is our key. So this one will be our foreign key denoted by the @id. So this is how we define schemas in Prisma. So you can also, if you don't understand Prisma, don't worry, it's very easy. Just define your models in an object way. So you can see we have model movie. So this is the key. Then I'm using the ID of the movie, because movies have IDs. You can find specific movie has its own ID, so you can use that. The title, the poster path, the description, the release date, created that, all that has been installed, because we just want to focus clearly on the CRUD operations using Prisma. So if you have issues with Prisma, how to set up Prisma, you can write down on the comment section, then we'll get back and maybe create a video about how to use Prisma. So the next step, we can go back to the readme and see whatever we are missing. So to initialize Prisma is as simple as doing npx prisma init. Okay, so I can even do this. I can delete my my schema, my Prisma folder, and then come here and do npx Prisma init. Just wanted it to be simpler, but let's do this for maybe someone who doesn't know how to use Prisma. So as you can see, similar to what we had, you can see we have the Prisma folder with our schema, and then we can go ahead and so you can see the URL, the database URL requires you to have an env variable called database underscore URL. And then you can see we have the same here on the database underscore URL. And then I have given you the .env.example to use for the project. Okay. So next is to create the model. So this is the model of the movie we are going to store in the database. So this is the table we are going to create in the database to hold our data. And we said the first thing I'll need is a key which is of type string at ID, and then this one is auto generated by Prisma, and I'm using the CUID, which is a long character string. You can still use an ID here, auto incremented, but I prefer that. And then we can use an ID which is an integer, and then it is unique. Then we can have the title, which is a string, and then we can have the poster path, which is also a string, the description, which is a string, but it's optional. So to denote it's optional, you just add a question mark at the end. So we can also, let me disable copilot, disable completions. So we have the description, release date, which is a date time, which is also optional. We also have the created at, which is also a date time, and then we have a default. This one will be auto-filled by Prisma, and then to denote each time a new record is added, we use the at default, we use the now. The now denotes the current time. And then updated at, which is a date time. Then we have an updated at attribute to use. So this is how we define our models in using Prisma. It's very simple. So this one will create a table called movie, and these are the columns, and then the new records are the values for the columns. So and then you can see how this one is disorganized. There is a command used on Prisma called format, which you do npx Prisma format. So the format basically formats your schema. Okay, yes. So next up is to create a seed, because let's first run the project and see. So pnpm dev. So it's running on port 3000. So you can come to localhost port 3000 and wait to see what we will get. So the project is taking long to compile, so still compiling. So let's just wait. Let me continue explaining all the other things we have here. So we have a data file. So this data holds static data for the movies. So these movies are taken from the TMDB API. Still, I think the completed code has, okay, it is here. So you can see the test movies are from the TMDB API. So in the README you can go ahead and read more about the API. So that's where I got the movies and then created the schema. So you can still continue advancing this project to do more. maybe to fetch from the API and store, but for this case I just wanted to have static data, which I'm just in the page, our page, just mapping over the data and then using a movie card to show the movie. Then if I can click to the movie card, you can see the movie card accepts the ID, title and the poster. So it displays an image, it has a heading. So these are headings from Chakra UI. As I said, Chakra UI is a component library. So next up we have a drawers. These drawers are for editing and deleting. And then in the home page we have an add movie drawer and then toggle color mode. So you don't have to worry about the color mode. So our project has run, and then this is what we have. As you can see, the movies are 100 movies. We have the title for the movie, the ID, then these are models that I just added for editing and deleting, but this one can't work right now because this is static data, and we just want to make sure the data is added to the database. So we can add a new movie, okay, and then these are the movies we have. You can delete a movie, but currently the implementation is not yet added. And then the edit. So if you go back here, so you can clearly see, so let me zoom out a little bit. You can see this is our movie card, which accepts the ID, the title and the poster, and then our page. So this is how our page looks like. Our page has a heading. So if I can do this, and then I can do that, so you can see them side by side. Let me close that. So you can see we have this H stack is a flex which has a line item center. So these are components from Chakra UI, as I said. So we have our heading, then the heading is taking the length of the data, which now denotes the number of movies available. Okay, so we have the head. So I can also add, there's so much squashed. Okay, that looks nice. So we have the heading, then the add movie drawer. So this is the drawer I'm talking about. So this is our drawer that we'll use to add new movies to the database. And then next up you have the toggle color mode. This one just want to explain so that someone can understand. And then we are mapping over the static data I showed, which is here. This is the static data we are mapping over and then showing the movies. So we want to push this static data to our database. So the next step we need to do is to seed our database with this static data so that we can have the data to start. We can have data to start with. So to seed data in Prisma, you need, I think the README has the instructions. So what do you need to seed data into using Prisma? So let me show you. So you just need to add a dev dependency for TS node and then the types of node. I think I have these are just installed in the package.json, but in case you don't have them, as our dev dependencies, I don't think we have TS node, so we will need to install TS node as a dev dependency, and it's as simple as coming to the README and copying this command. But since I'm using pnpm, I will not copy the npm command. So I can do this, open a new terminal. So this one is getting smaller, but since we can see our movies, we can continue. So we need to install those. So I'm using pnpm, so I can do pnpm install -d, then install those dependencies, and then it says add a prisma.seed file. So you go to a Prisma folder, So go to a Prisma folder, and then you can call it any name you want. So I'm just going to call it seed.ts. So this one will be responsible of adding these static movies to this one will be responsible to add these static movies to our database so that we can query them from the database. So the first thing we need to do is to initialize a new Prisma instance. This is our instance of our Prisma database, the Prisma CRUD. So let me check whether we have Prisma installed. So you can go to a package.json, and then let's see whether we have Prisma CRUD. We do. So I don't know why it did not autofill, but let's continue. New Prisma CRUD. So we can import it manually if it doesn't show. So Prisma CRUD from at Prisma/CRUD. So we get an error. Prisma CRUD has no imported member Prisma CRUD. So let me restart the developer window. So to restart, so that maybe if anything was not showing, should show. So to restart, you just press Shift, Control and P, and then click on the reload window. So we still have an issue. So let's double check. So we have our seed.ts. So let's go to our package and check whether we do have the correct types. So TypeScript, we have Prisma CRUD. So we have our own Prisma CRUD, and everything should be working. So so Prisma CRUD. So let me check on our DB. So has no member imported at Prisma/CRUD. Let's check whether we have everything working. So I'll pause there and check what's the issue, then I'll be back. Okay, so the issue was that we did not run the command to generate our schema. So this one, npx prisma generate. So we did not do this, so Prisma did not generate types. So you can see generated Prisma client and added it to the node modules. So if you don't generate, it won't be seen by TypeScript. So we can still continue. So the next thing we do is create a function, an async function, main, which the first thing it will do, it is to format the movies data we have in our data.ts, is to format this movie so that this object will resemble what our database is expecting. So this is what our database is expecting. Our database is expecting an ID, a title, a poster path, and a description. So we need to reformat this data to look like whatever is expected in the schema. So we can use Prisma. So the first thing you know with Prisma is that it generates types based on our schema. So our schema is movie, so we can create. So let me show you. So we can say, first thing you specify what do you need to do. So what table do you want to perform actions on? So in this case we need to perform actions on the movies table. Where is the movies table? The movies table is here. So we call Prisma, which is our instance of our database, and then call the movie to specify we want to perform some actions on the movies table, and then we can either delete, update, create, do all that stuff. So in our case we want to create many. And what does the create many expect? So create many expects a data, and the data should be an array of, let me just show you. So let me just copy like two movies, so this one and this one. So you can do that, just too much. So what does Prisma expect? So Prisma expects an array of objects with the object matching whatever the schema is. So let me put the schema here, then close that and close our terminal so that we can have a lot of space to work with. What does Prisma expect? It expects an ID, which is a number. So in our case, the ID for this movie is 278. The next thing it expects is the poster path. The poster path, in this case, we are going to just use the poster path. So in this case, it will be this poster path. Okay. And then what else does it want? It wants a description. So where is the description? Do we have a description here? The overview. So can use the overview. So then you can do the same thing on the next movie. So this is what Prisma is expecting. And then the release date also. So let me continue and add the release date, which is maybe 2024 slash. So Prisma expects an array of objects which matches the exact schema that is present. So what do? We have our own movies, so we can map through our movies. So we can say, so we can import data from the constants. Then since these names are crashing, we can rename these one to movies to seed, and then we can map over the movies to seed dot map. We get each movie on the callback, and then what do we return? We return the exact schema that our Prisma is expecting, so the exact data that our Prisma is accepting. So what does our Prisma want? It wants an ID. Then we can get that from the movie dot ID. Then the title, movie dot title, and the description. So in this case I don't care about the description, so I'll leave that to you to work on it as an exercise. So poster path, which is movie dot. So there is an issue here. So we want to rename the data to that. So movie dot poster path. So you can add the description, but because the description is a string and it's optional, I'm not going to add it. So as your exercise, this is what I want you to do. So I want you to add the description and the release this date to the DB, but in my case I'm not going to do that. So that's your own exercise, and I would love to see the final results of the movie you create. So what did we actually do? So the prisma.movie gives us the table, and then we can perform other actions on the table. So in this case we want to create many records. You can see when I hover here, it wants to create many records. It expects an array of data you want to create. Okay, so in our case our data has so much stuff, so we need to map over the data and then return only the data that we require. Okay, I hope that is well understood. And then finally .log, we can count the movies. So this is a seed script. So a seed script is run to seed the database only. So and then here we can call the function, because it is an asynchronous function. We can do a dot then we have another async function which we just await prisma dot disconnect. Okay, just want to disconnect, and then if we have an error, zone is also an async, and then we get the error, and then we can console.log the error. You can console.error in similar, then await prisma dot disconnect and process dot exit one. Then we can exit the process. So because the seed file is meant to be run on the terminal, okay, this is not for the application, this is just for seeding data to our database. The next thing we need to do before we seed our database is to create migration. So currently you can see we don't have any migration. So even if you are to our database, there is no we have not synced our database with our schema. So what do you run? So you come back and run npx prisma migrate dev. And if you're wondering where am I getting all these, so all this is got from Prisma documentation. So you can come here and read more about the ORM. So my internet is a bit slow, but you can come to the documentation and learn about how to use Prisma. You can see Prisma data sources, you can see the models. So it's as simple as going to the documentation and learning how. So to create our migrations, we just write npx prisma migrate dev, and this one is to create a migrations folder. Then we can say initial migration, and then on the migrations folder you can see we have a new migration. So you can see the work of Prisma. Prisma is an ORM, and an ORM is basically an intermediary that helps you communicate with the database easier without having to write SQL queries. So you can see it runs this, it creates this migration command or query with a key, everything that we specified in our Prisma schema. And then finally, to work with our so let me check whether I did. Okay, so then to push these migrations to our database, yes, so we have generated our migrations, and then let's open our database and connect to the database. Okay, so let me zoom out a little bit, then we can check. So Prisma generated the migrations and created the table for us, so we can select star from movie, select star from movie. We're connected to the database, but we can't run. So we have our movie, and then so let me check what's the issue. So I don't know why it's not working. I don't know why it's not seeing our movie, so let me check the final time. Select star. So we also have a convenient way to check our database. You run this command. So in prex Prisma Studio, we'll open our database on the browser. So it will give us a view of our database, and we can perform some actions on it. So you can see we have the movie table was created with an ID, the title, the poster path, the description, the release date, created that, and then we don't have any record. And then I'm not going to work on the CRUD. I don't know why it did not check. Select star from movie. I don't know what's the issue with these, but select star from movie. Relationship movie does not exist. So we will not work with Postgres directly on the shell. It has some issues, but let's continue so that we don't waste more time. So as we have seen, our database is already created, then we are already connected to the database. The next step is to seed the database. So open a new shell, then we can go back to our readme, and then okay, so I think this one is already added. When you're following the readme, you can see whatever is suggested to be added on the package.json. I have not yet added it, so we are going to add it, which is a Prisma command. Then so beneath here we can just paste it, and where did I get it? So it's right here on the readme. So where is it? So you can see we added a new key here called Prisma with a seed command, which basically calls the TS node, compiler options module, then it goes to our Prisma folder /seed.ts. So our Prisma folder is this one, and then seed.ts. So we are basically executing this script on the terminal. So then after doing that, we run npx prisma npx Prisma db seed. So running the code, you can see. So we got an error. Okay, cannot find module utils. I hope now this syntax is used in Next.js, whereby you use the art to reference stuff on your project, but now we are inside a command in the terminal, so it doesn't understand whatever we are doing. So what do? We can go back and use a relative path. So we can just do that, then go to our utils, then slash constants slash data. So I hope this one will work, because the art symbol is used in Next.js, but currently running the script, we are not. This one is not a Next.js script, so we can rerun the previous command. So the database is seeding, and we still don't have, so the module is not found. So Prisma tutorial Next.js slash Prisma seed.ts. So I did change it to let me check the package.json. So we are passing it Prisma slash seed.ts. So we also have a new seed here. Let me just delete this one. I think it's from the previous. So and then okay, so I changed the wrong file. So let's go to utils slash constant slash data. Make sure you don't have two files. If you do, remove the file on the lib folder, or come and update the file here to be lib slash seed.ts. I added a new seed when I was showing how to use it. Hopefully I'll edit this one before you get to seed yourself in Prisma. So you can rerun this one, then hopefully this one should work. Okay, the database, the command has been executed. You can see this console log is a console log I added here. So when you seed, whatever you get back is the data you have just seeded, like the data you have just added to the database, and then I just use the .count to count it, and then you can see we have 100 records on the database. So we can come here and refresh our database, and these, voila, this is our data from the database. So what is the next step? We are still fetching data from, so we are still fetching data. This data is coming from the static data. So the next step is to hook up the database with the UI. Okay, yes. So let's go back to the, and also something to note, we have this db.ts. So this is our instance of the database for our application, not for our seed, because you saw in our seed we did create our own. But this one is a special way to initialize the Prisma instance, whereby we don't just create a new instance because of the hot module loading on Next.js, whereby we can have so many instances. So using this code, we are sure that we'll have one instance of the database, because if you just used like this one, and then it keeps reloading the folders, checking which one has changed, we will have multiple instances. You can read more on the documentation about best practices, and also I added that on the readme to make sure everyone understands. So this one, and then I added a link there so we can see the link. So that's a good point to note. So the next step is to hook up the UI with data from there. So let's remove data from the utils and then fetch data from the database. So the first thing, because we are running an asynchronous function, is to change the function to an asynchronous, and then get our movies, where we can say, so await prisma dot movie. So let me first import it from lib slash. You just have to confirm this one so that you can have the correct instance that you wanted. So prisma dot movie, similar to the previous command we are running, and then we have a command for finding many, which returns multiple instances of returns all the records. So find many returns all the records. All these is in the documentation, so don't worry. Then we have the order by. I just want to order it by the created at, so this is how we use Prisma, whereby we pass in the configuration if you want to order the data, and then I want to order it by the created at, so that whenever I add a new data, I don't have to scroll to the bottom to get it. And then here we can update to movies.length, and then we can map over the movies. So whatever we have is the movie, then here we have the poster path. So just that, and then let's see whether it will. You can see now the movies are from the database, as you saw. So that's the first step, reading data from the database using Prisma. So the next step we are going to work on is the adding a new movie. So how do we add a new movie? So this one. So if you can see, adding a new movie is as simple as it is. So we'll definitely go back to the code and start. So I hope it's this one. Yes, yeah. So let's go to the add movie drawer. So where is the add movie drawer lie? You can hover on the add movie on the VS Code, control and click. If you're using Mac, is command click. So next step is to work on this one, this component, to make sure we can add new movies to our database. So let me update something here. So where do we start? So the first thing we do is we are going to be using React hook form we are going to use React hook form. Let me just show you. So we are going to use this one to get data from the user and provide feedback. So let's do that real quick. So to use React hook form, we just first get some data from it is equals to, we are going to use I think we don't have React hook form installed, so we are going to install React hook form so that we can use it on our project. So on your terminal, run this command. So npm install react-hook-form, and then there's a package for validation called Zod to validate our data, and then finally is another package used to resolve Zod with React hook form. So Zod provides validation. So you can see Zod provides schema-based validation, and then we can use Zod, hook it up to React hook form, so that we can have validations from Zod into React hook form. And then to do that, we need another package called the @hook form /resolvers. So they are installed, and then we can call the use So this one is not updating, so we can do the trick I showed you, Shift Control P, and then reload the developer window to make sure everything is synced. So if I call use form here, use form so you can import use form from React dash. So if it doesn't show, then we need to install it manually, and we'll get some helpers here. The handle submit, all this is present on the React form documentation. The reset, form state, and then grab the errors. So as I said, our main key purpose for the tutorial is to know how to add new records to the database, read, create and update and edit. And then, so if you need to learn more about React hook form, it's as simple as going to the documentation, or maybe add on the comment section you would like to have it. So the next thing we need before we continue is to create a schema folder. Whereby we define our schemas. So schemas will be useful for validation, and then we can. So the first thing we need is to import z from Zod. Okay, as I said, we use Zod to validate our data. So then we say z.object, whereby we want the title to be z.string dot minimum of 5, and then we can say title should be more than 5 characters. So this is the validation that Zod will run on React hook form. So if the title is supplied less than 5 characters, then Zod will chip in and provide this error. So next up we want is the image URL. So this one will be our thumbnail. So we can still say string z.string the dot a minimum of 5. Then we can say image URL should be at least 5 characters long. So I hope this one is self-explanatory. So we are writing the schema. You can add more. Maybe you want a minimum, you want a maximum. You can change that here. Max length, you can change whatever you want, but in our case we'll keep it simple. The next one is the ID. So the ID we want to be a string, and then a minimum of 2. And you can say ID should be more than more equal to 2 characters. And then since the ID we want it is as a number, we can use a method here in Zod called the refine, whereby we get the value So what should we do with the value? We can check whether the type is a string, and then we can say that the message should be, so the type of the, so we want the ID person to provide a number, So if it's not equals to so let me explain what the refine is doing. So the refine takes in the value, and then we can say what do we want to do. We want to check if the value can be passed into a number. So should I use pass int, or maybe you can check. So pass int the value. So if the check doesn't pass, then we want to show a message. ID should be an integer. And also I'll leave this one to you guys to continue to check on it. We also have other, we can say this one is a number, but for the purpose of this tutorial we can keep it simple. And then we can export a type called movie form data, which will be so I want to keep it simpler, so we are exporting a type to use on our forms. So there's a difference between the type. So there's a difference between the type and the actual schema. And then after that, we can go back to our add movie. Okay. And then in our use form, we can specify the type, which is the movie form data that we have just created. And then on the options for Zod, we can say the resolver. It's called the Zod resolver. It's not picking up, so we have to install it, to import it manually. You can say, so you can say Zod resolver from at hook form slash resolver. So we are passing options for use for React hook form for the resolver for to be, then we pass it the schema. So the resolver, the schema to resolve to, and then the mode, which is when do you want the validation to kick in. The validation should kick in when the inputs form changes. Okay. Yes, so next up is this one is chakra based, so we need a form, and our model is not a form, so we need to convert it some of the on submit. So this is how Zod works, so don't worry about so much about Zod. So if you don't have the components, just import it. So on Zod, on submit, this one is present on forms, so we can also use a form here, but since we are using Chakra UI, we can simply convert any component into a form. So as our form, and then on submit we pass in the function from Zod, the handle submit, and then this function requires it to be passed yet another function that it will call with the data. So we'll reach there, it will call with the data, and then below here I can close my box. So we can come here and create that function. So we can say submit, takes in the data, and then you can specify the type of the data because we are using TypeScript. And what do we do here? We can maybe toast. To toast in Chakra UI it's simpler, so you just import, you can see, just import the toaster function, then we can toast here. You can say submissions are working. Info, and then I think that's it. We can do that. So let's go back to, so ad hoc form has no member Zod resolver. I think we imported Zod resolvers, so let me check on the package.json. We have our resolvers here. I think we need to restart it again. I don't know what's wrong with the VS Code today. Okay, so let's see whether the issue will persist. Okay, so we need to go into the Zod package, so there was no issue. So we can go back to our form and check. I think we left something else. Okay, that's right. So we can go back to our code. So these movies are coming from the database, and our next step is to add a new movie, and then we can enter some IDs here. So these movies are coming from the TMDB API, and the TMDB API provides the image URL as a path. So that's why in our README I added test movies. So you can see, use these test movies to create new movies. You can find more about it in the TMDB API. So this is a sample response from the TMDB API. So what do you need? You can use this data to test. More so, the data you need is the poster path. So you have 3, you can choose from one. So you see, this is the most key because the images are stored in the TMDB API. So that's where the movies are stored, and you need to give the image URL like this. So make sure you read the README to find out more. And also there's a movie I added here, which you can simply copy and paste, and then we can add the title, maybe The Lost Girl, and then try to save. Okay, I get the issue. So our save function is not working, and I think it's because, go back to the add movie drawer on the bottom where we have the, we can change this one to add movie, then we can add a type is equals to submit. Okay, then if you go back, I hope it will submit. Okay, let's refresh the screen. Add movie, click on the add movie, then try to save again. So if the save is not working, so we have this one, type is equals to submit. Okay, I don't know why it should work. So our add movie seems there is an issue, then it should toast. Let's see. So let's see whether the issue is that, and then if it's not, then we can do something else. So let's use an alert and see. So we just started debugging, and checking what the issue could be. So the add movie is not working. So let's add the errors and see, maybe we have errors inside our code. I get the issue. We did not register our fields, so I guess I jumped right into. You can remove this ref. We don't need the ref there for now. Then we can start registering our inputs. So this is how we register the inputs with the React hook form. And then we can check if there are errors .id, and then if we have an error, we can show an error message. So we can show an error message. So this is just Chakra UI syntax. So let me add it real quick. And then if you don't have an error, you can show this helper text. So then check on the readme. Now you have to do that for the rest of the inputs. Let's remove this ref right now. There's an issue with the image URLs, so let's fix that very quickly. URL I don't know what the issue is. Let me just revert. So check on the readme image URL, then we can this thing we had in Chakra called is invalid. Then we check if there are errors.id. Then we go next to errors.image URL, then we register that input. You can remove that. Register the image URL. So then the next is to do the same thing, check if there is errors. If there is errors.image URL, so form error message icon, then errors.image. Then if there are no errors, then we add the form helper text. So that's it. Then finally is the title. So the title will use the same syntax. Errors.title. Let's remove this. Then we register the title. Then we can check for the errors again. If there are errors, then we can. So let's just copy these and then paste it here. Errors.title right now, and then errors.title.message. Enter movie title here. Then let's go back and check. Okay, now you can see how Zod works. And also there's something else I need to add. I'll add a function called custom close. So this will be on its work. So it will call the onClose function on the drawer and then reset the input fields. I hope I imported, yes, I have the input fields right here. The reset function resets the input fields. So to learn more about Zod and React Hook form, you can check on the documentation. And then instead of calling the onClose here, you can remove this ref. Instead of calling the onClose here, we call our custom close, so that whenever someone closes the add movie drawer, the input fields are reset, so that you don't have the previous data. So we can refresh the screen and then add the movie. Then I can add 1, 2. So you can see the validations is kicking in. ID should be more than or equal to 2. This is exactly what I added into the schema. ID should be more than or equal to 2 characters. So that's how Zod works. It's easier to work with. And then we can add 444. We said we'll just copy this one. No, this one. Or you just copy from the readme, and then we can say, so there's also an issue here. I did not remove the, we have two helper messages, so this one, can remove that so that I don't have redundancy. Okay, so I'll call mine the lost girl, and then we get our alert which says, so that means our form is being submitted. So let's do that next time. So add the movie, then submissions are working. Next step is now to actually link it to the database. So create a new folder on the root, call it actions, and then inside actions we are going to add a new action. So we are using, so add movie action.ts. So we are using Next.js server actions to actually add the new movie. So just write the syntax. Hopefully you know how to do it. And then we can create a response. The status will be either success or error. And then it will have a body, so that maybe if you have to return data, we can return if you want to. This is the type that will be returned to the client. So we can create an async function, add movie action. It takes in data. You see the importance of using a schema. So the action is aware of what type of data is coming from the client, and then this one returns a promise of add movie response. The first thing we do here is using Zod to validate the data, and we do that by using a validated data, which is equals to movie schema. We use our schema that we created, not like that. So we use our movie schema, and then we call a method on it called savePass. Then it is safe passes the data. So we have data coming from the client. So which is the data? This is the data. We have the ID coming from the client, the image URL, and the title. Then we are using Zod to save pass, so that Zod cross checks whatever is passed to the server action versus what is in the schema. And then we can use an if statement here. So if it's not successful for the validation, we return directly to the client with the error. So you can say the status is error, then body, then the message says invalid, data, and then try again, data. So if the validation doesn't pass, we don't do anything else. Then if the validation continues, we grab the data we need. We need the ID, title, and the image URL. Why are we doing this? So that we can grab the data that we require. So even if someone passes multiple things like school, we don't need that. So that's why we destructure whatever we need from the validated data. But also it is very hard for someone to pass the schema. So the schema knows what exactly we need. So if you pass more data, then this is what you'll get in the client. And also we have validation in the front end. So we have, you can see we have validation here. You can see we have validation here, and we still have validation on the server, on the schema, and then we still come here and grab whatever we want from the data. And then here we can use a try catch. And in the try, what do we do? First, since we're adding a new movie, you can check if there is a movie the given ID. We can do that, or let's check the documentation on Prisma create. So we can come here and see. So the CRUD reference, let's go to the create. So the create is I want to see the return. Since I don't want to use too much time, CRUD, then we want create, then the create. I want to see what is returned. So return type JavaScript. So I'll leave that to you to go through the documentation and see what if you add an element with the same ID. Will it validate or will it not do that? But in my case, I'll just check if the movie exists. Okay, so the movie that was supplied from the client, we check whether the movie exists. But I think you can just simply try to create, and then Prisma will raise the error. But for learning purposes, let's do it the manual way. So check if the movie exists. So we can say movie is equals to await Prisma dot movie, still working the mood, and then find unique, where ID is equals to pass int of the ID. So if we get a movie the same ID, we know that this person is trying to create the same movie. Draw new error, and then movie. So this one is self-explanatory. So we get the movie the given ID, and then if the movie exists, then we draw an error, else we create a new movie. So we need an added movie, which is equals to await prisma.movie.create, and then the data is equals to the ID is pass int of the ID, supplied ID, and then the title is equals to the title, and then the poster path. You can see I'm getting syntax highlighting as I'm writing my code. So this is the power of TypeScript with Prisma. And then in JavaScript you have the same key. You can omit it and just use that. Then if that passes, then we can return a status of success. Now the return type is strictly cross-checked against the return type we added there. And then the body, then the message, which will be equals to added movie dot title. So whatever we get back whenever a create operation is registered is the created movie, and then you can say has been created successfully. And then if we catch an error, the first thing we do is to check if the error is instance of error class. If it is the same instance, then we can return status of error, and then the body message error dot message. So how are we doing this? So let me finish up, then we can talk about how we are doing that. So then we can return a status of error, body, then the message went wrong. So how are we doing this? How are we checking if the error is an instance of the error class? This is because of our custom thrown errors. So you can see our custom thrown errors. This one is an instance of the error, so we want to get this message back in the client, or else the error is an instance of doing this. So if this one fails for any issue, then we'll get a new error which we can grab by the error dot message. Otherwise, we can return a generic error. Okay. Okay, I should separate this one. Then that's our add movie action. Then we just call the add movie action in our front end. So go back to the add movie, and now instead of doing this, the first thing we do is to set, we don't have a loading, so we can create a state variable. Set is because use state, then it will start at first. So this one is for showing the loading indicator on the button. So we go back to our button for saving, then we can say is loading is equals to is. So is loading is loading. Then the first thing we do here is to set is loading to true. Then we wait for the response. Response is equals to await add movie action. Then we pass it the data. Now you can see everything is, you need to convert this to asynchronous. So you can see everything is clicking in because in our add movie action we specified we want the movie form data, and then the data that is coming here in the submit handler is the same type, so everything is working as expected. Then after it is finished, set is loading to false to stop the loading. Then we can toast to the user and say, so the title will be based on the status. If the status is equal to success, we can say success, otherwise we do error. And the description is coming from the backend, so res.body.message, and then the status is equals to res.status, and then position, this one is chakra based, you can check the documentation. Duration is equals to 3000 milliseconds, and we can say you can close it if the user doesn't want it. Okay, and then we can check if the status success Then we can custom close. The custom close we added here, which will close our model and then reset the fields. And then we need, now the data is created in the database, we need to update the UI. How do you update the UI in Next.js? Using we refresh the router. So the route, so cons router is equals to use router, and pay attention to import from the next/navigation. Then here we can router.refresh, so that we can get new data from the backend. Then we return. Then we check. We don't need the input ref right now. Don't need the ref. And then it's time to test. So what are we doing here? So whatever comes back from our add movie action, and we specify the add movie action should return a status, a body, and a message. We set the loading to true so that we can show the loading spinners. Then we toast the user. Then we check if it's successful so that we can close the model and refresh the route so that we can get new data. Okay. Yes, so let's test this. So click the add movie, or maybe let me refresh this one. So add movie. So the model is not opening. I don't know why. Okay, it's working now. I don't know what the issue was. So we can enter the movie ID. I can add a random ID, then copy this, or go to the readme and get another URL to work with. I need to prefix this one. And then the title, I want it to be The Lost Girl. And then we can add the movie. And The Lost Girl is shown here. Okay, let's do it one more time. I don't know why the model is taking long to show. Something might be wrong. Let me check. Let me refresh. Okay, so what if we add the another movie with the same ID? Let's see whether we did this one actually. So we can say the one is here. So add. You see, we get an error. And where is this error coming from? The error is coming from our add movie action, whereby we said if in our database we have a movie with the same ID, then we return this, so we not save a new movie. But if we add, let me go back to the readme and grab a new URL to work with. So make sure you grab the poster path. So this one, go back, then you can add another ID, maybe 5555. Add a new image URL, and the lion is here. We add the movie, we see the toast, the model is closed. Let me just change the order, or maybe let's just stay like that, so that we can show the toast afterwards. Okay. What have I missed? So you can grab these. I want it to be afterwards. We can just add it. Let's stay like this. Then, so we're adding a new movie. The lion is here. You'll see the loading indicator bottom. This one. The lion is here, has been added, and then you get the new data from the database. Now you can see the lion is here, has been added. So let me remove the character limit in our movie card. let's remove this limiting, just show the title so that you can see whatever I'm saying. So I added the limits, so now you can see the lion is here. We just added the movie. So the next step, and then the movie listing has been updated, and this one is being stored in our database. So if we refresh the database, you can see now we have 102 movies. Okay, and then we can sort them by the created at. Then the lion is here. Okay, so next up we're gonna work on is the delete. So currently it is not working, so we want to work on the delete, which is a bit simpler to work with. So close all the others and then open the delete movie alert or the alert dialog. So what we do here, we first create a function to delete. We call it handle delete, which is an async function. Then delete movie with the given ID. So we need to create an action for the same, so that we need to create an action that will basically handle the deletion. So we can say on click handle delete. So what do we need from this one? We need to get the ID of the movie. So we can add the ID on the props, grab the ID, we need to pass the ID, and then in our movie card we can pass the ID to the movie. ID is equals to ID. ID should be a number, not a string. So next step is to create a new action to delete a movie. So we call it delete movie action.ts, and then this one will simply do the same thing. We can create a, you can say this one is just running on the server. This is how we denote server actions. Then type delete. So this one will follow the same syntax with the previous one, but I didn't want to separate. I didn't want to use the same, but on your own you can simply use the same. But in my case, sometimes each response is individual. I don't need to worry about the other one. So we export an async function delete movie action, takes in an ID which is a number, and returns a promise of delete movie response. So this one will simply go to the try catch. So in the try catch, delete movie with the given ID. So in this case I don't need to care about seeing if we already have a movie, because Prisma, in case it doesn't get the ID, the movie, the supplied ID, it will throw an error. So it will handle that for me, and I think even the previous case it will. So we await Prisma dot movie dot delete, where the ID is equals to the ID, and then as I said, we can simply ignore this and just use the ID, but in my case I'll leave it like that. And then we can return a status of success, and in the body we can say the message, and the message will be movie.title has been, okay, and then here in the error can do the same thing we did. We can check if the error is instance of the error class, then we can return a status of error. Body, we can turn the message. I think we can do something here. Instead of repeating this one, we can create message is equals to a custom message, like something went wrong, try again later, so that we don't have to repeat the same code all over the place. Then we can update the message. It will be equals to the error.message. No problem. And then finally we return status of error, and then the body message, then msg. Okay, as simple as that. And then in our delete movie component, so handle delete, we just simply call, I think we need to add an is loading, so that if it's deleting we can know. So const is a state variable, then set is loading, use state, and then false, and then here we can say set is loading to true, finally set is loading to false, and then the response is equals to await delete movie action, supplying it the ID. And then we can toast. No, we didn't import the toast, so const toast, use toast, then here we can toast, and title is equals to can check if the status is success, then we can say success, otherwise error, then the description des.body.message status des.status, and then the position I want it to be top, duration of 3000 is closable true. Then if it is successful, we do the same thing we did with our add movie. Then so we need to import the router, and as I said, make sure you import the one from the navigation, because then we can refresh so that we can get the new data without the deleted movie. And then this button for deletion, we can say is loading is equals to is, as simple as that. And then if we go back and delete a movie, so let's delete the lion is here, loading, the lion is here, has been deleted. So the next thing is to call the custom close. So let's go back to our add movie, copy the custom close, we go to the delete movie, copy it, we don't have a reset here, copy the custom close, and then on close we do that Okay, since the custom close is doing the same thing, we don't need the custom close. So we can simply call close here. But also we can close, yes, we can close if it's successful. If there is an error, we won't close. Then we can delete the lost girl, deleting, so something went wrong. So okay, need to call on close, not close. Reload the page. We are heading to over 2 hours of tutorial. So this is that one was gone. I'll add a new movie. The ID will be the similar, and then the lost girl again. The lost girl is added. We get the lost girl, then we are going to delete the lost girl again, and the lost girl is gone. So finally is edit movie. So similar case to the rest. If you can try to do it on your own, try, but I'm going to go real quick to the edit movie, and then we can do the same thing. So let's write it quick. So we are getting this one from React hook form, but I'm going to write it so that the form state, grab the errors, it goes to use form, then resolver, resolver. Okay, now we need a new schema for, so we need a new schema for our edit. So let's rush real quick on the schemas and export edit movie schema, which is equals to z.object. Then we need the title, z.string, dot minimum of 5, and then title should be 5 characters, and then the form data, edit movie form data is equals to dot infer type of edit movie schema. So type, then we come here on our edit, and then we pass here the schema. We specify the type of the form data you want, then the mode is on change, then finally we can add the default values. So these are the values that will show the default values. So I'll show you how that looks like, and then we can paste our custom clause because these will simply follow the same structure. Come here to the edit custom clause, we add it there. Then on our models, instead of calling that, we call our custom clause. So we can remove the ID. For due to time, we'll just update the title, not the title. Then the same thing we did there. We need a form so that we can grab the submissions and submit. We call the handle submit. Then we need to create a function called onSubmit, which will receive the data, but not worry about that right now. So then we can come here. Next step is to register our input is invalid errors.title. We don't need the refs right now. Maybe they'll take much time to start explaining about the refs. We also need to create a function called onSubmit. Takes in data, which is edit movie form data, like that. And then we'll have is loading here. So it goes to loading, type equals to submit. Okay, then here we can go back to the add movie and grab the errors like this. So errors dot title, then the error message, error icon, and then title, we'll only update the title since image is stored elsewhere. So what else are we missing? I don't think there's anything we are missing. We need to create the is loading state. So equals to use state. Okay, so then we register our input. I just remembered didn't register the input, so okay, so I can remove this. Next step is to create the edit movie action. So we can create edit movie action, which will follow the similar structure. The response will be similar, so we can come here, grab the response here, we call it edit movie response. So let's go back and copy almost everything here, come add it here, then we start changing stuff. Then should be edit movie form data. I hope you understand what is going on. And then edit movie response, then edit movie schema. We do the same thing of safe passing, but now here we need the ID of the movie you are updating. then or there is no ID, we return that. Then we can just grab the title from the validated data. We call Prisma. Then this one will be, so I'm rushing because of time, I don't want it to be too long. Then can give it the ID. Then what we want to update is the data. I want to update the title. No, these are not there. So updated movie where data, and then we pass in the title. We have an error here. Okay, so we are updating. This is the problem with copy pasting. So we update, and then if it's updated, then we can say the title of the movie that was previously. Title was then we can add successful. Okay, so what are we doing? We create a new this is the updated movie. We await prisma.update. We provide the ID of the movie, the data we want to update. We get the movie back. We still have the previous title. Then we tell the user this movie has been updated to this movie, blah blah blah. Then we check the instance of the error, then do the same thing we did. So I can go to the delete and copy the error, how we did with the error, and copy it. So here, so that we can have a nicer UI, a nicer code. So that's it. Go back to our edit movie component, and then we start checking. You can see I have used it here, we don't need that. I don't know how it does. Then we go to the on submit. Now this one will be asynchronous. Then the first thing we check is if the title is the same as data.title. And then if it is, then we can toast you have not made any change. Then the status is error, and then position will be top. Okay, so we have an issue here. I need to import toast. You can use toast from React. So this one is just for checking if someone is submitting a title, something that they have not updated. Then set is routing to true. Then we can res is equals to await edit movie. So did we change the name? Correct. Edit movie action. Let me check if the button house is loading. Yes, it does. Then we need the ID, which is a number. And then here we can grab the ID, go to our page, pass the ID. Now the movie card, then pass the ID here of the movie. And then edit movie action, then we give it the data and then the ID. and then set is loading to false. So false. Then you can check if the res.status, if it's successful, we need the router again to refresh so that we can get the new data of the updated movie. So use router, get it from the /navigation, next /navigation. So we can say router.refresh custom cross. I don't know whether I have reset. Yes, I do. And then at the end we can toast the title res dot. So I can just copy this one from the add movie. Now from the add movie, because I have done it quite some times now. So here, just like that. And then with that we should be able to edit the movies. So I'll create a new movie called, the ID will be 1010. Poster path, as I said, we can just copy this one since it's for testing purposes. Use that, make sure there's no, then the last girl, add the movie, add it successfully, wait for the movie. It's here. We can try editing the movie. Now you can see, okay, so there's an issue here. Okay, so let's check if, let me edit this, the Godfather. This one is showing, the wrong thing. So as we said in the edit movie, the default value is the title passed in 8. So we go to the movie card, edit movie, the title is the title of the movie. So let's go back to the page. Title is the movie.title. So I don't know what the issue is. The default value should be the title of the movie. Okay, I expected to see the lost girl here. Edit the lost girl. Yes, so the lost girl is, so let's try updating the title, and we have updated nothing. So it looks like it updated, so we needed to, so okay, we need to return here, okay, so that it does not continue the execution if the titles are similar. So edit movie, the lost girl, try, failure. You have not made any change. What if we say the lost girl is here? So the lost girl is here, is updated, and then we should see the new, the lost girl is here. So guys, that's it for today's tutorial. So to recap, what we have learned is how to seed the database, seeding the database in Prisma, how to work with Prisma in Next.js, how to read data to delete and update, and all that. And then if you want the final source code, it's available on the master branch. I think I also submitted the .env. I'll try to remove it. So this is the final source code in the master branch. If you have any issue, make sure to add it to the comment section. And also you can see the movies, you can add new movies, all that functionality. So all that is left is to add more functionality to the application. You can see the edit movie, you can just update the title, make it such that we can update the movie's ID. So this is the ID of the movie. Look, the TMDB resource. Yeah, and that's it from me, guys. So hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.